From the beginnings in 1896 and John Heisman's undefeated turn-of-the-century team, through the legend of Frank Howard and the unprecedented success of the Ford era, to its future with Ken Hatfield, Clemson University football has produced some of the greatest games, players, and moments in college football history. The triumphs that comprise the Tigers' greatest games are a unique story, characterized by the undying support of her faithful that is unequaled in the land in sports' most colorful game. In 1896, 3 years after Clemson had opened her doors, 30 students met in the barracks to organize a football association. These rugged individuals enjoyed some success in the first couple of years, but in 1900, budding football genius John Heisman was hired to coach the team that was being called the Tigers because of their orange and purple striped jerseys and stockings. In his initial year, he directed Clemson's first undefeated season with decisive wins over Davidson, Wofford, South Carolina, Georgia, and VPI. They finished with a 35-0 rout of the University of Alabama, after which the state newspaper reported, the Alabama boys were clearly outclassed. It was a case of novices against veterans. Following the 1903 season, Coach Heisman was enticed away by Georgia Tech, ending this golden age of Clemson football. Coach Jess Neely had brought Clemson football back from the gridiron wilderness and into the national spotlight. His 1939 team was his last at Clemson, but his best. They were Southern Conference champs and 8-1 going into Clemson's first ever bowl game against Eastern Power Boston College in the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Day of 1940. They had an outstanding backfield led by Charlie Timmons, Shad Bryant, and Clemson's first All-American Banks McFadden. The 175-pound senior was a great punter, passer, runner, and defensive back. He led Clemson to a 6-3 Cotton Bowl victory with the lone touchdown coming on a 2-yard Timmons run. Banks McFadden also earned All-American honors in basketball and excelled in track for the Tigers. The nation's most versatile athlete's jersey, number 66, is now retired and recognized by many as the best ever at Clemson.
17th Annual Orange Bowl Classic.
Coach Frank Howard started the 1950 season with dim prospects for glory. Most of their opponents had completed their post-war rebuilding while the Tigers were riddled by graduation. But they had a quartet of high-powered backs that had vaulted the country gentlemen back into the top 10. They were undefeated with only a tie to a Steve Wadiak-led South Carolina team. The heroics of Fred Cohn, Jackie Calvert, and Billy Hare had them poised for a showdown with nationally ranked University of Miami in the Orange Bowl.
A short one to the Clemson 20, taken by Dick Henley of Clemson in slow motion now. Watch him drive to the Clemson 36 and run smack into a host of Miami Hurricane tacklers. And the 1951 Orange Bowl Classic is underway.
Sophomore sensation Billy Hare continued his passing brilliance with a 45-yard bomb to Bob Hudson.
Tigers about to score the first touchdown of the game.
Fred Cohn took it in from the 1.
With all he's got for the first big touchdown of the game. Right on the job. Redcliffe kicking the extra point. It's good. Clemson South Miami, nothing.
In the third quarter, standout Ray Matthews made a circus catch of a Hare pass with 2 men on his back. Hare then connected with N. Glenn Smith, who made one of his 6 catches and scrambled in for the touchdown.
Who takes it for Clemson's second touchdown. Coach Frank Howard gets a pat on the back, and the Clemson crowd is on fire.
After a missed extra point, Clemson was up 13-0. 2 minutes later, Miami responded with a long kickoff return and a reverse play to close the gap to 13-7.
Who sails wide around in for a touchdown.
The Hurricanes struck again with a 5-play, 95-yard scoring drive to go ahead 14-13.
Miami players rise to their Miami held Clemson in the last 3 plays. Clemson punts. This is one to watch closely. Cone boots a long.
Miami star Harry Malleus had his 80-yard fourth-quarter punt return called back, and after 3 penalties, they were in a deep hole.
Miami fans and players expressed their feelings.
The Hurricanes halfback took a pitch out, but was tripped by unheralded guard Sterling Smith for a safety. The 2 points had given the Tigers a 15-14 lead.
This undoubtedly is the highlight of his career.
Clemson was up for the task as they came through when Miami's final threat was shut down by a D.A. Wade interception. The Tigers completed the outstanding 1950 season undefeated with a sterling 9-0-1 record.
It will go down in the history books as one of the Orange Bowl's most thrilling contests. The play of Billy Hare, Sterling Smith, Matthews, Cone, Calvert, all the Clemson players will be well remembered to make this the most thrilling bowl game of 1951. Final score, Clemson 15, Miami 14.
Big Thursday was no longer, but the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry was indeed still big. Now the state championship was a regular season finale and an Atlantic Coast Conference game. Few athletic events shake up the populace like this rivalry, which in 1967 was for the ACC championship. Paul Dietzel's Gamecocks had enjoyed an abrupt turnaround from a year before and were enthusiastic about being led by star fullback Warren Muir and hosting the Tigers in front of a sellout crowd at home in the capital. But Coach Howard had a big gun of his own in ACC Player of the Year, Buddy Gore. He was among the nation's rushing leaders and would break the ACC single-season rushing record, eclipsing the 1,000-yard barrier with 1,045 yards. Coach Howard was on his way to becoming the legend, as he was one of 4 coaches to have won 150 games. He was in his 28th season, and after the season would become the Dean of American Coaches. The Tigers had also enjoyed an abrupt turnaround from earlier in the year when they started out 1-3, then won 5 of the next 6 games. Howard said it was the best team he's had at Clemson. The Tigers intercepted Carolina's Mike Fair twice in the first quarter. In the second, Buddy Gore began churning out the yardage. Jimmy Addison gave him the ball repeatedly.
Gary Arthur and Wayne Mulligan, the center of the Clemson line, laying some good blocks.
A pitch to him got first down.
Gore cuts back and gets his first down.
He slid off the right side and into the end zone for a 10-0 halftime lead.
No hole there. He slides off the line of scrimmage around the right side for the touchdown. Back to game action.
Clemson went on an 8-play, 76-yard drive with Gore doing the work behind All-American Harry Olszewski. He broke the longest run from scrimmage of the year when he ran for 43 yards.
Clemson back all year long. A 43-yard jaunt. They finally nailed him at the 12-yard line.
Skillful quarterback Jimmy Addison displayed his abilities with an 11-yard TD pass to make it 17-0.
They were consistently throwing quarterbacks for losses. Mike Fair of South
Good
Carolina.
defense stopped quarterback Mike Fair. Pressure on him forced incompletions and an interception by Kit Jackson.
Kit Jackson is able to intercept the pass.
The stalwart defense continued as All-ACCer Jimmy Cato got an interception.
Jimmy Cato in the end zone. Kendler kicks off for Clemson. Watson grabs it for South Carolina, but watch Liebertor. Hits him. The ball is jarred loose. Ronnie Duckworth grabs it out of the air.
The 147-pound quarterback Addison passed complete to Phil Rogers for a first down, then fakes a handoff and runs 12 yards for a touchdown to take an impressive second consecutive ACC championship and a place in the final national polls.
147-pound quarterback Jimmy Addison, and the Tigers defeat the Gamecocks 23-12 to wrap up the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship.
Clemson traveled between the hedges in September of '77 to take on the defending SEC champ Georgia. Vince Dooley had his Bulldogs nationally ranked and well prepared as usual. Clemson had suffered through 8 losing seasons out of the last 9. They were trying to get used to new coach Charlie Pell. They had lost a close one to a tough Maryland team the week before, from which the realization of their potential had emerged. There was a young talent on this team consisting of players who would become household names to Tiger faithful. The Bostics, Steve Fuller, Dwight Clark, Perry Tuttle, Obed Ariri, and Lester Brown. The entire first half was scoreless on this rainy day. In the third quarter, Bulldog quarterback Jeff Pyburn was intercepted on the 15-yard line. The Tigers were stopped and forced to punt, but the Bulldogs can't handle the kick, and the Tigers recover and go to work. Junior quarterback Steve Fuller connected with Dwight Clark over the middle and down to the 6-yard line. Sophomore tailback Lester Brown bangs in for their only score and a 7-0 lead. The Dogs rally for a late touchdown but fail on the 2-point conversion, and Clemson holds on for a 7-6 victory. Did the Tiger fans following this game recognize that this signaled a new era of Clemson football? Charlie Pell's 77 Tigers followed up their success in Georgia, reeling off wins over Georgia Tech, Virginia, Duke, NC State, and Wake Forest. They tied North Carolina and nearly pulled off a memorable upset over eventual national champion Notre Dame before falling 21-17. They came into Columbia for the annual showdown with South Carolina, ranked 15th, with hopes of receiving their first bowl bid in 18 years. Jim Carlin's Gamecocks were 5-5 and underdogs. It was hard hitting from the outset.
Big play by Randy Scott along with Archie Reese. The Pacific time.
The Tigers immediately took control. Steve Fuller pitched to Warren Ratchford for 32 yards.
Ratchford is knocked down by Stanford inside the South Carolina 25. Crowd on its feet.
Marvin Sims used extra effort to put them in position.
He gets away from two tacklers, breaking tackles inside the 10. Finally knocked down inside the 5-yard line. Boyd and Stanford, the two men.
Ratchford opened the scoring from the 4-yard line. The next series, the Gamecocks' Ron Bass was intercepted. It set up this Obed Ariri field goal. Again on the move, Fuller executed a play and then gave to Lester Brown for the touchdown and a stunning 17-0 halftime lead. Fuller went to the air to continue the assault. Ken Calicut went on a 52-yard jaunt, further shocking the state with a 24-0 lead. Then Carolina struck with Spencer Clark, who bobbles a pitch out, runs wide, and cuts in for the long 77-yard score. The Gamecocks had come back from the dead.
Happiness for South Carolina as Spencer Clark goes 77 yards.
They took control and made it 24-14 with this Steve Dorsey 11-yard TD carry.
Clark in motion.
Dorsey would score another fourth-quarter touchdown, this time from the 1. The 2-point conversion was caught out of bounds, making it 24-20 with Clemson still ahead.
They're going to rule it out of bounds. Willie Scott, he did.
This incredible comeback was not over. South Carolina held Clemson and got the ball back again. In trouble after 3 incompletions and on 4th and 10 with under 2 minutes left, Ron Bass executed a gutsy call and was on the money to Philip Logan, who made an amazing catch and run for the apparent game winner.
Inside the 10. Logan's going to go in. Sensational individual play. The game
It looked like it was the end for Clemson's Cinderella season.
in this football game. We have 1 minute 48 seconds remaining. Garrett.
But as if from a Hollywood script, Steve Fuller commanded a heroic rally. He connected with Rick Weddington over the middle to the Carolina 39. He then threw incomplete, but responded with a strike to future All-Pro Dwight Clark.
Dwight Clark with the reception.
With less than a minute on the scoreboard, something happened that will remain indelibly etched in the hearts of Tiger fans and paralyze the still jubilant Gamecock fans. It went down as the catch.
In the end zone, he's got a man. Touchdown. Oh! What a catch by Butler.
Oh, this is just an unbelievable football game.
A twisting, leaping Jerry Butler immortalized himself with the unforgettable reception that gave the Tigers a shocking 31-27 win.
Touchdown, Clemson.
It capped a season that propelled Clemson back into the national spotlight. It ushered in the start of a new golden era of Tiger football.
And we'll be back with a final word from Columbia, Williams-Brice Stadium, where Clemson has won it 31-27.
The next year, the outlook was positive with the return of Fuller, Butler, Clark, Jim Stuckey, and Rex Varn, along with Jeff and Joe Bostic. It was a great year as the Tigers had won 8 of 9 games leading up to a November 1978 battle for the ACC championship. It was number 12 Clemson visiting number 11 Maryland. The Tigers trailed most of the game but stayed alive with staunch defense. Steve Fuller connected with Jerry Butler for a marathon 87-yard touchdown to tie the game at 14-all. Down again at 21-14, Fuller hit Dwight Clark for an 87-yarder that tied it at 21-21. Marvin Sims' tough running put the Tigers back in good position. They finally took the lead and the 28-24 win with Lester Brown's 5-yard fourth-quarter touchdown. They were the new ACC champions, and afterwards in the locker room received and accepted a bid to play in the Gator Bowl. Clemson went on to beat South Carolina. However, afterwards lost Coach Shardy Pell as he resigned to coach at Florida. The story was that of a 31-year-old offensive line coach who was the only man considered to take Clemson's now vacant head coaching position. They made Danny Ford, the former all-SEC tackle and team captain at Alabama, the youngest head coach in major college football. He inherited a 10-1 team that was ranked 6th.
The opposition for the Clemson Tigers will be the Ohio State Buckeyes and this 34th Gator Bowl football game.
They had never beaten a Big Ten team and were going up against the renowned Woody Hayes and his powerful Ohio State Buckeyes. The Tigers were determined to atone for the previous year's showing in the Gator Bowl loss to Pittsburgh, their worst ever.
The 34th Gator Bowl game is underway. It is high, it is deep, way back in the end zone.
On Ohio State's first possession, they moved the ball well and found themselves down on the Clemson 2. It was 4th down, and Woody Hayes elected to forego a field goal and go for it. But Willie Underwood and Big Bubba Brown make the key stop.
And the rest of the Clemson team, 4th down.
Again, the Buckeyes were driving in the first quarter and came to a 4th down attempt, but they were thwarted by the stout Tiger defense. After an OSU field goal, Clemson went on a march, with Fuller running the option keeper for a 1st down and following with a spinning touchdown to make it 7-3.
Touchdown!
Art Schleister guided his Buckeyes to a touchdown with a completion over the middle and then a keeper for 6 yards.
Schleister keeps it. Touchdown!
Steve Gibbs broke through to block the extra point, leaving Clemson down by 2 at 9-7.
By the same token, 9-7 makes a big difference.
However, they were not content to be down by 2 at the half as Fuller passed to Dwight Clark over the middle and then to Warren Ratchford.
Fuller throws it short to Ratford. Gets away, going for the sidelines to kill the clock with 28 seconds to play.
It set up a 47-yard Obed Ariri kick that gave Clemson a 10-9 halftime lead and the momentum. Midway through the third quarter, the Tigers put together a 19-play drive that included a pass to Perry Tuttle and Austin Carey
From Scottsdale, Georgia.
and a Marvin Sims bruising run inside.
Fullback Marvin Sims, and he runs over people. First down, Clemson. Third down.
Fuller rolled out, scrambled to the one.
Got room. There he goes.
Cliff Austin plunged in for the score.
Touchdown. Watch him take off. And you can see that he finally gets in on third, this kind of a play.
But the Buckeye quarterback Schleister would never say die as he rolled to his left and completed a 37-yarder to Hunter.
Position that they had and the clock that was going against them. Hunter makes a nice catch.
He later jammed it in from the one to cut the Tiger lead to 17-13.
Touchdown.
Woody Hayes' last key decision was to go for a two-point conversion. Standout defensive tackle Jim Stuckey halted the play. And late in the fourth period, Clemson appeared to have the game in hand while moving down the field.
Looking downfield, you can see the blockers come back. He stays right in there, actually throws off balance, and hits Tuttle for a first down. What a big play. Take a look here. Fuller comes back on the option play.
As Fuller was trying to pitch to Ratchford, he was hit, and OSU recovered in Clemson territory.
Sawicki. And of course, that is a big play.
OSU quarterback Art Schleister rolled out and cut downfield to the 24. It put them within field goal range.
Back down at the 24.
With less than 2 minutes remaining, Schleister dropped back and passed, but was intercepted by second-team nose guard Charlie Bauman, who returned it and was tackled in front of the Ohio State bench, where, to the amazement of 72,000 fans and national TV, Coach Woody Hayes ran over and slugged the bewildered Bauman in the throat.
And we got a big fight going on.
After a short scuffle, OSU drew consecutive unsportsmanlike penalties that sealed Clemson's biggest victory. Coach Woody Hayes was fired the next day. The Tigers completed their most successful season ever with an 11-1 win-loss record and a final number 6 national ranking.
Score of 17-15. That flag for being
Phi Beta Kappa Steve Fuller finished his stellar career with the MVP trophy and 10th straight win. Lester Brown became the second Tiger to go over 1,000 yards for the season.
Final score, Clemson Tigers 17 carrying the trophy off the field, Ohio State 15.
Rookie coach Danny Ford found himself with a 1979 squad that had lost 15 starters from the Gator Bowl team, including Steve Fuller and Jerry Butler. But he did have Jeff Davis, Jim Stuckey, and Rex Varn, and he did a masterful building job. In November, the Tigers found themselves in the unfriendly confines of Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana, against one of the giants of college football. The Tigers wanted to settle the score, having lost their only other meeting 2 years earlier, while being belittled by Irish coach Dan Devine.
Now Ariri approaching the football, high, end-over-end kick. Going to be grabbed off by Stone at the 8. Out over the 10, up the near side at the 15, gets to the 20, finds a slot at the 30, 35. Finally pulled down as he moves out to the 43-yard line. Mayo attempts to...
Devine's Irish went ahead with a first-quarter field goal.
And it is good.
After being denied for several plays, Vegas Ferguson went in from 2 yards out to put Notre Dame ahead 10-0.
At halftime, the score, the Irish 10, the Tigers nothing. Standing back at his 26, awaiting the snap, has it. Gets the kick away.
The Tigers battled back in the second half. They forced this fumble after a strong David Sims punt.
Down around the 20, it is Clemson football.
It set this Obed Ariri kick that got them on the board.
10:49 remaining in the third quarter. The score, Notre Dame 10, the Tigers 3.
Ariri came back with another field goal from 41 yards to cut the Irish lead to 10-6.
Ariri He hits the 41-yard field goal. 10-6, Notre Dame has the lead.
The Tiger defense stiffened while the offense revved up. Quarterback Billy Lott scored the only Clemson touchdown with this 26-yard misdirection option keeper. It proved to be all they needed as the defense came through with several big plays.
Well, there's a lot of orange in South Bend, Indiana, and right now it's all on its feet as Billy Lott.
After a final O'Reilly field goal, the Tigers enjoyed a 16-10 upset victory that was just the third time in 40 years Notre Dame seniors were beaten in their final home game.
The Tigers have come into South Bend, and they have defeated the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame here this afternoon after trailing 10-0 at the half. The Tigers came out.
To date, it may have been Clemson's biggest road victory and was a confidence boost that foreshadowed an impending national prominence for the Tigers.
Tigers 16, Notre Dame 10.
1980 was a rebuilding year, having lost 11 starters, leaving them with a young, inexperienced team. But Coach Ford's surprise rebuilding job from the year before would not be an easy feat to duplicate. After displaying signs of prosperity with a 4-1 start, the Tigers had stumbled to defeat in the next 4 of 5 games. The previous week's 34-7 whipping at Maryland had them low heading into the state championship game against the 8-2 nationally ranked Gamecocks. To change their fortunes, the Tigers donned orange pants for the first time. With what would also become a Clemson hallmark in the 1980s, the Tiger defense was tenacious. They keyed on Heisman winner George Rogers and kept him out of the end zone.
This time gives to Rogers. Going to his left. He'll be knocked down at the 35. Comes the blitz. They ride it off to Rogers, and he only gets to and knocks Rogers down at the 15-yard line.
They were engaged in a tug of war that was highlighted by 2 interceptions from safety Willie Underwood, his first interceptions after starting 4 years. With Carolina down on the Tigers' 16-yard line, Underwood picked off a Gary Harper pass intended for future pro end Willie Scott and streaked 64 yards with it before being stopped by George Rogers.
30 and out of bounds, I believe. Third quarter, Gilliard will go wide to the right side. This is it. Homer Jordan brings
9 plays later, the evasive Homer Jordan sneaked in on 4th down to give Clemson a 13-6 lead.
Can't see how he wasn't in there. Yes.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Homer Jordan on the quarterback sneak. No way you don't indicate touchdown when that ball crosses the plane. And I'll swear to you, it crossed the plane on the previous play. It crossed the plane again.
Less than 2 minutes later, Underwood stepped in front of another Harper pass and raced 37 yards to pay dirt.
10-5, touchdown! I don't know what the play is, but I'm going to tell you one thing. Somebody had it scouted to perfection. They toyed with it all afternoon. Ben Cornett, the intended receiver this time, and Underwood sailing by.
Jeff McCall rambled 15 yards to complete a 27-6 victory that shocked the Palmetto State and would change the fate of Clemson football.
The Tigers, a team much maligned many times throughout the course of this season. Their coach, Danny Ford, rumors all week. Danny was gone. Danny couldn't coach. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Ken. They may have saved it. There was a lot of speculation.
The Georgia Bulldogs entered Death Valley in September of 1981 as defending national champions, and they had a 15-game winning streak. However, the Tigers picked up on the legacy they had begun in the previous season's finale over Carolina. They came out in all orange and with relentless defense. The Tigers had knocked off Wofford and Tulane, but were now facing a powerhouse rival that was led by the greatest tailback in the game. If they could beat the number 4 Herschel Walker and company, it would be the highest-ranked team Clemson had ever defeated.
Gets out over the 40 to the 41 and is hit there by William Devane and Jeff Davis of the Tiger defense. Has been in the eye, pitch back to Herschel Walker. Walker trying to get outside left.
He turns the corner and is knocked down around the 11-yard line and fumbled the football, and the Tigers recover. Backfield, Herschel gets the call. Herschel is going to be hemmed in, pulled down for a loss, back around the 15-yard line. Great defensive surge by Hollis Hall and Danny Triplett that time as they hemmed Herschel Walker. Blue back to throw, under pressure, intercepted, picked off by the Tigers. With the football is Terry Kennard.
Anchored by the heaviest player in school history, the 310-pound refrigerator Perry, the Tiger defense covered quarterback Buck Ballou in a sea of orange and harassed him into 5 interceptions.
Escapes some trouble and firing into the end zone. It is intercepted in the end zone. Rod McSwain picks off the 5th Tiger interception of the afternoon.
The orange crush kept Walker in check as he struggled through 27 carries and managed 111 of the Dogs' 121 ground yards, but never made it to the end zone.
No first down. He's stopped back around the 17-yard line by Jeff Settle. Oh no. Childers with his 2nd intercept of the year.
The only touchdown of the day was set up by Tim Childers' interception. Homer Jordan then passed to a diving star wide receiver Perry Tuttle for an 8-yard score.
Touchdown, Perry Tuttle!
Donald Igwe-Buike converted from 39 yards out before the half.
Donald Igwe-Buike has hit a 39-yard field goal, and with the
The Bulldogs' only points came early in the second half on a Kevin Butler 40-yard field goal.
The Tigers 10, Georgia 3.
The deafening roar of the vocal Death Valley crowd inspired the spirited defense, which ended the day and Georgia's win streak with 9 turnovers.
Over right tackle. Fumble!
After the 13-3 triumph, Clemson appeared in the national polls.
It is over here at the Valley.
It's one of the familiar landmarks on the campus of the
In addition to the Tigers' quest for a perfect season, the November 1981 game at picturesque North Carolina was historically significant. The Tar Heels at 7-1 were ranked 8th, and the undefeated Tigers came calling on a record crowd at Kenan Stadium with a number 2 ranking that marked the first and only meeting of 2 top 10 ACC teams. Clemson was coming off a school and ACC record 82-point output in a shellacking of Wake Forest.
With some fierce games. Stan Cabbage has a bottle in the back.
Nevertheless, defense dominated from the outset.
Clemson recovers the football.
After a scoreless first quarter, North Carolina had moved deep inside Tiger territory.
Fake handoff. Elkins looks to the end zone.
Drew's brother William Devane sacked quarterback Rod Elkins and forced the Tar Heels to settle for a short field goal.
Defense by Andy Heaton, number 12. William Devane, number 94, and Benish.
Clemson took the ensuing kickoff and mounted a 14-play, 81-yard drive.
Clemson 32, second quarter. Kevin Mack.
It ended with this 7-yard touchdown carry by Jeff McCall that turned out to be the only one of the day. Just before the half, North Carolina blocked a Dale Hatcher punt that took a fortunate bounce out of the end zone, averting more damage than the 2-point safety.
And had the ball not gone out of bounds, it would have been 6. This way, it's only 2. Here it is again, all 10 going here. Big risk situation. I don't think they would have gotten it had the snap been proper. But that's a lot of pressure.
The Tigers held on to a 7-5 lead. After an Igwe-Buike field goal, the Tar Heels pulled off this 21-yard tailback option pass.
Great catch right here. Boom, as he hit, you thought the ball was going to come flying up.
Remember, the Clemson defense has been tested this year. It's going to be right now with 1st and goal to go on the 4-yard line.
On first down, star tailback Kelvin Bryant was dropped 5 yards behind the line by All-Americans Jeff Davis and Terry Kennard. The defense had only given up 2 rushing touchdowns all season. They came through again as the North Carolina team settled for a field goal and being behind 10-8.
10-8. And again, that 3 points looms big.
Clemson held on in the fourth quarter and ended a drive with key defensive gems, such as this 10-yard sack by the refrigerator.
Gets the rush. Down he goes. And it is William Perry, number 66, all 295 pounds of him, who pounces on Stankiewicz. And the reason that's important, it throws them way out of chance for a field goal.
Outstanding freshman punter Dale Hatcher came back strong with a 47-yard punt that buried North Carolina down at the 2.
Out of bounds. It goes out of bounds at the 2-yard line.
What a punt! Woo! Stopping the clock.
With under a minute left, All-ACC defensive tackle Jeff Bryant recovered an incomplete lateral to seal the game.
They've called it that way. This game...
Well, it'll be interesting to see the replay, but I'll tell you, it was a brilliant, brilliant defensive play by the Clemson Tigers.
Good reaction on their part. They smell the possibility that it might be a backward pass.
With the victory, Clemson advanced into the number 2 position in both polls.
Clemson will take a very hard-earned but highly prized victory back to Clemson.
Following the thrilling victories over the Bulldogs and Tar Heels, this 1981 team of destiny found itself with a flawless record, having gone through 9 other opponents, putting Clemson University football in an unprecedented position. The Tigers were 11-0, poised atop both national polls and staring straight at a New Year's night showdown in Miami's Orange Bowl with perennial powerhouse Nebraska.
A team the Nebraska coaches feel is the best at that school in a decade. Tickets are always at
The Big 8 champions boasted of their own number 4 ranking. Coach Tom Osborne called this the best team he's ever had, and they maintained the same visions of taking home college football's ultimate reward.
as the battle for the national championship is ready to begin. Donald Igwebuike, a Nigerian, kicks off for Clemson, drives it down.
Nebraska received the opening kickoff, but 3 plays later, William Triplett's fumble-causing hit allowed big William Devane to recover the loose ball at the Cornhusker 33-yard line.
Number 94, William Devane.
Homer Jordan directed a short drive that stalled at the 27-yard line. But it was enough to draw first blood as Donald Igwebuike drilled the field goal from 41 yards out.
And the Tigers of Clemson, number 1 in the country, are first on the scoreboard, leading 3-0.
The Big 8 champs came right back by driving 69 yards in 8 plays.
When they were so, they put 8 men on the line of scrimmage.
It culminated with this Mike Rozier tailback pass to Anthony Steele for the 25-yard touchdown.
Steele way beyond the secondary. Simple little pitch and catch.
The extra point gave Nebraska a 7-3 first quarter lead.
Past the subsequent extra point.
Following an exchange of punts, the Tiger offense had good field position inside Husker territory.
Grant Campbell hits it down, and a fair catch is made on the Nebraska side of the field by Billy Davis. Into the Orange Bowl Hall of Honor this week. Here's Homer Jordan going for the home run. Punt is going for it. Very nearly 6 points for Clemson.
After trying to connect with Tuttle Long, they drove down to the 21 and set up Igwebuike's second field goal that made it a 1-point game.
21 yards again, hits it way up in the air, and he's right on time. Donald Igwebuike has put up a second field goal.
A second quarter Clemson drive ended with a controversial Husker interception that initially was ruled incomplete.
I'll tell you what happened. The official that had he only could see the back of Lindquist, so he couldn't make the call. He referred to the official on the other side of the field. He thought that Lindquist had the ball clean. We couldn't see a thing.
Clemson recovered with excellent field position as ACC Player of the Year Jeff Davis pounced on this loose ball at the Nebraska 27.
So they had the ball. They do. All-American Jeff Davis recovers the fumble.
The vaunted Tiger ground attack went into action, with Cliff Austin, Kevin Mack, and Homer Jordan driving the ball down to the 2.
He did so and picked up the first down.
They can beat Nebraska tonight. The national title.
Austin got them in the end zone with this toss sweep.
Good offensive line play, forcing the linebackers to make the play. McWhirter in pursuit.
The 2-point attempt went incomplete, but Clemson had grabbed the lead again.
numbers stand at 12-7. Clemson going for a 14th.
Tiger fans were able to enjoy the usual dazzling Orange Bowl halftime show with a 12-7 lead. The first half stats were very even. In the second half, Clemson put it all together with their second possession as the Tigers engineered a 75-yard, 12-play drive. It was their standard ball control attack and complementary passing game. Fullback Jeff McCall had 2 tough carries that put them in position.
This offensive line is about as pumped up against a fine defense as I've ever seen.
On 3rd and goal, Jordan found All-American to be wide receiver Perry Tuttle in the corner of the end zone for this electrifying touchdown. It not only put Clemson ahead 19-7 with the PAT, but it was a school season record-breaking 8th touchdown reception. Later in the third quarter, Billy Davis fielded this punt and bolted 47 yards with it.
Moves through a crowd, turns the corner, blockers are there, look out! 40, 30, down to the 22-yard line.
But the Tigers stalled at the 20. So they called on the Nigerian Nightmare for the 36-yard attempt. And again, he came through with his 3rd field goal.
They've done it during the season, but they're going with Igwebuike throughout the game. He's put up 3 field goal attempts, and he has hit all.
The powerful Cornhuskers were down, but still alive after this near interception by Johnny Rembert.
Mauer's in a position where he has to throw the ball. You see a man 6'4", 6'5", moving like that in the secondary. Rozier's been the key man in this drive and has played well all evening long. His offensive line gives him a real good surge, allows him to get through at the point of attack.
Future Heisman Trophy winner Mike Rozier led an 8-play, 69-yard drive that was highlighted by this 26-yard touchdown run by future All-Pro Roger Craig.
Roger Craig, what a great play, and Craig breaks it, he's going to go in. Roger Craig is in the end zone.
Despite a 5-yard penalty, the Big Red offense still had the force up front with the likes of Outland Trophy winner Dave Remington to clear the way for Craig again as he breezed in from 8 yards out for the 2-point conversion. It was 22-15 with a full 9 minutes left in the game. The inspired Tiger defense rose to the occasion as they held back the heralded Cornhusker attack on their final extended drive.
One of these plays that was not determined by poor execution offensively. That was Benish, a man we hadn't seen an awful lot tonight, making a great play at a critical time.
The Tiger offense proved equally impressive as they played ball control.
Jeff McCall carried by 7. Handoff straight ahead in the first.
They put together the clutch drive that included this 23-yard scramble by the elusive quarterback Jordan that helped consume well over 5 minutes.
Left side of the offensive line for Clemson's been great all night, but this man's just been coming up with play after play after play.
By John Gonzalez. And here is Homer Jordan running out the clock if he can. Down to
Nebraska got the ball back. Only 6 seconds remained in the game as they got off a final desperation play. Andy Hedden batted away the pass to seal the 22-15 victory and reach the pinnacle of college football.
Clemson wins the national championship of college football.
Clemson had earned the respect it had richly deserved along with the undisputed national championship. Their impeccable 12-0 record put them atop the college football world.
This afternoon from Death Valley in Clemson,
The Maryland game in 1983 was spirit blitz as Tiger fans were rising above with the release of 370,000 balloons as the team ran down the hill. It was a world record that painted a spectacular picture in and above Death Valley. The Tigers were riding out NCAA probation with a point to prove as they knew they were the class of the conference, playing the Terrapins, who were the official conference champs despite Clemson's perfect ACC season record. They were gunning for a 19th consecutive ACC win and a 20th home victory in a row.
in the end zone. He'll run it out from 3 yards deep.
They were up against another of Bobby Ross' powerhouse teams led by quarterback Boomer Esiason and boasting a number 11 national ranking. Clemson came out in their orange pants and charged up. They started with a Mike Epley screen pass to Kenny Flowers, who broke it for a long first score.
Touchdown!
Still in the first quarter, all-ACC tight end K.D. Dunn pulled an Epley 13-yard touchdown pass in.
Your tight end goes in for the score. Eric Wilson had a great rush.
Boomer Esiason kept Maryland in it with accurate passing, here making the score 14-7. The Tigers got 2 second-quarter TDs by tailback Kevin Mack from 6 yards out and from the 1-yard line.
Right into the end zone, behind Braxton Williams, who was pulling.
They finished the half with a surprising 28-7 lead.
They're going to kill this poor Tiger.
First down.
The assault continued in the third quarter as Mike Epley improvised by finding Terrence Rulak after being fleshed from the pocket.
Second time around, touchdown.
Let's take a look at Driver.
With 9 minutes left in the third, Stacy Driver burst off tackle for a 14-yard score that increased the blowout to 42-7.
Linebacker. And from here on, Stacy walks in. 41 points, make it 42 for Clemson, 7 for Maryland.
125 yards through the
Esiason tried to lead the Terps back with his immense athletic ability, rolling out and in for a score.
Touchdown. So goal-wise.
In the fourth, Bob Pauling kicked a 33-yard field goal. Kevin Mack added to his 186-yard 3-touchdown day with the final touchdown on a tackle-breaking 42-yard carry. Clemson's two-sport athlete and academic All-ACC member Mike Epley stole the spotlight from Boomer Esiason by passing for the 3 touchdowns to go with the Tigers' 351 rushing yards.
Rulak will get the reception. Epley gets the TD pass, but it's Epley that makes the play.
Expected to be mediocre after a 1-1-1 start, this 1983 team went on to win the state championship and posted a 9-1-1 record that placed them at a proud number 11 spot in the final polls.
Clemson, you see part of this huge...
It was a nationally televised sellout crowd this September 1986 day in picturesque Athens, Georgia. The Bulldogs were the dominant team of the decade with a backfield stocked full of future pros. Tim Worley, Keith Henderson, and Lars Tate. Clemson also had been ultra successful until the previous year when they had fallen to 6-6, and they wanted to get back on track to national prominence. Their 18 seniors had never beaten Georgia, and the Tigers had won only once in the last 17 visits to Sanford Stadium.
Near side. Across the 30, still at his feet, finally brought down at the 36-yard line.
Lars Tate opened the scoring.
Leaping, touchdown, Georgia!
Kenny Flowers brought the Tigers back down to the 2.
The hole opens up to the outside. Now what gets him away here is pure speed. Down the sideline, he turns it on. He picks up a block on the outside by number 87, Keith O'Neal Jennings. That clears the way for the sprint down the side, and he is knocked just out of bounds.
He then tied the game 7-all.
23rd of his career. Watch it again, Lynn.
This is his 5th carry for 67 yards on the day. There you see the leap, the hand getting down on the ground. Coach now playing.
The dog signal caller James Jackson lofted it up to Keith Henderson for the second touchdown.
Lofts it up. He's got him open. Worley. Henderson, touchdown.
The Tiger defense wanted to be noticed when Delton Hall stopped a Georgia drive with this pass breakup.
Jackson, nice looking pass. End zone, incomplete. Line. That's Rulak in motion.
An ensuing Georgia interception was stripped and recovered by Ray Williams on the 11-yard line.
He should have been picked off, but right here, he strips it from behind and gets it back.
Rodney Williams threw to senior Terrence Flagler for his first TD pass in 6 games, and that put them 1 touchdown behind at 21-14. He did it again in the second quarter with this 20-yarder.
football this afternoon. The pressure being put on. You see the ball tipped there by Brantley. Just getting a hand.
A play-action pass to tight end Jim Riggs set up the tying score. Big Tracy Johnson bulled his way in from the 1.
Being tipped. Some remarkable plays. It's Tracy Johnson, number 42.
And Clemson 1 point away from once again tying this ball game up.
They started the second half of another classic Clemson-Georgia matchup, even at 21-21.
Feel 82,000 here in attendance, and we're seeing one heck of a ball game. It's all tied up at 21 apiece as Clemson attempts to win their first game from the University of Georgia since the 1981 season when the Tigers won the national championship. Georgia's defense stiffened.
The Tigers came out moving the ball surprisingly with crisp passing.
At the 35-yard line, that's Keith Jennings, number 87. First grab of the day, big gainer.
The air attack set up the short touchdown by quarterback Williams.
And Corey, he deserves to take this one over for himself. He is calling a fine football game this afternoon. We talked about confidence being a factor.
And after an exchange of turnovers, Georgia responded with a 78-yard bomb to fast Freddie Lane to retie it at 28-28.
Jackson throwing, he's got Freddie Lane, 45-yard line. Look at Lane go. 15-10, touchdown, Georgia.
In the last quarter, Georgia was again on the move and threatening to make it a game-winning drive.
Georgia inside the 40. Jackson going to put it up. And he's got John Thomas. Just have the best day anybody's had since Buck Bellew. And here's Jackson outside, inside the 20 to 17-18.
They had gone 68 yards in 12 plays. And it was first down when James Jackson fumbled and A.J. Johnson recovered inside the 10-yard line.
Just as he turned upfield, stuck a hand in. Outstanding.
Clemson seized the opportunity and began a march that was helped by such clutch plays as Terrence Flagler's diving fingertip catch for key field position.
They went to the air. The yardage is not big, 22 yards on this play, but it means it's a first down afternoon.
Flagler then contributed solid runs, including a 17-yarder.
They handle Henry Harris in the middle, and watch this great move to the outside. Rulak on the outside, holding up, blocking one of the men in the secondary.
Flagler's some kind of athlete.
Flagler playing.
Rodney Williams took off toward the short side with a 15-yard option keeper and stopped the clock with less than a minute in the game.
34-yard line, Clemson moving the football. And the clock is stopped. Williams did manage to
that set up the scene that all Clemson fans recognize as one of the great ones. Coach Ford ran the clock down and stopped it with 4 seconds.
Calls a timeout with 4 seconds to go.
You don't expect him to make
Junior place kicker David Treadwell had missed badly from 39 yards earlier in the same quarter. But Ford stuck with him over kicker Rusty Side. It was a brilliant call as Treadwell put it through from 46 yards out with no time left on the clock. The reaction tells the story as Clemson won one for the ages, 31-28.
Tigers come through. Treadwell, the 46-yard field goal as time expires, and they are leaping and going crazy. The Tigers' first win here in Athens at Sanford Stadium since 1977. There it is. You don't see it very often. The Tigers, their first victory of the year. Vince Dooley and Danny Ford congratulate one another on an outstanding football game. Unbelievable.
1 year later, another ranked and bowl-bound Vince Dooley team met number 8 Clemson for what had become an annual confrontation of Division I-A college powers. The magnitude of this rivalry was heightened not only by the proximity of the two schools that represent the ACC and SEC, but the national implications of their outcome in front of the customary sellout crowds and the national TV cameras. This was the height of college football. The Bulldogs moved the ball but had to settle for an early field goal.
It's true. The Bulldogs score first.
A Terry Allen draw play set up a Tiger field goal.
Allowed Allen to pick up enough yards to put the field goal kicker in much better position.
30-yard attempt by Treadwell, who beat the Bulldogs at the closing buzzer a year ago. He has tied this game. Number 19.
At the beginning of the second quarter, Georgia held Clemson for 3 plays and then struck with a 76-yard Nathaniel Lewis punt return.
Oh, slick return. 45, 50. One man to beat his style. He gets past him. Lewis breaks free for a touchdown. The Bulldogs strike. Better field position.
2 minutes later, the Tigers struck with some lightning of their own as fullback Tracy Johnson ran straight ahead to tie the score at 10-10.
Georgia has
Before the half, the Tigers had moved the ball but stalled and called on Treadwell for 3 points.
And he's got it.
You are right. Treadwell has either won or tied 4 games for Clemson over the last 2 seasons.
It's 28 yards.
Quickly before the half, the Dogs put together a drive that resulted in a field goal with just 6 seconds left on the clock to make it 13-13.
Is there. It's Clemson 13, Georgia 13.
The seesaw battle continued in the second half. Georgia held, but Tony Flack fumbled the punt. It resulted in another David Treadwell field goal.
Signal at the 9-yard line is bobbled. And Clemson has recovered.
The Bulldogs went 78 yards, ending with elusive tailback Rodney Hampton scoring the first touchdown of the year against the stacked Tiger defense.
And gets into the end zone for the Bulldogs.
2 minutes later, Rusty Siles' punt hit, bounced, was tipped and downed on the 1-yard line by freshman John Johnson.
The Clemson defense gets down at the 1-yard line.
On first down, quarterback Jackson, behind a strong line, managed to just scramble back to the line.
That's Stevens, 65.
On second down, he rolled left. James Lott trapped him, and Gene Beasley finished it for a safety. The Dog lead was cut to 20-18.
Beasley, 27 all over him. Return it for Clemson.
With 5 minutes remaining, Georgia's free kick was returned by Donnell Wolford.
Out to the 42-yard line.
The Tigers went back to their ground attack. Wesley McFadden went for 11 yards. Terry Allen ran off tackle for another 12 yards as the offensive line with the likes of All-American John Phillips cleared the way. Allen was close to a 100-yard day after cutting back for 16 yards that put the Tigers where they wanted to be.
Allen for the corner.
In position to call on the walk-on kicker from Jacksonville who didn't even play in high school. It would be deja vu for the All-American senior David Treadwell. With no timeouts left, Coach Ford ran the clock down to set up the 21-yard attempt to beat Georgia back-to-back for the first time since 1905 and 1906. It was Clemson's all-time pressure kicker, Mr. Clutch, coming through for the 21-20 one-point triumph.
From a sold-out Orlando.
The Tigers had put together a great season in 1987 that had seen them win another ACC crown. They had achieved a top 10 ranking going into the season finale with South Carolina. But the Gamecocks were also ranked and managed to shut them down for a win that was still bothering the Tigers as they went into the Citrus Bowl game against Joe Paterno's defending national champion Nittany Lions. His teams were 12-5-1 in bowl games and succeeded with a balanced offense. Clemson came out with the look of a team ready to make amends for having suffered their second loss in 11 games. Wesley McFadden started them off on the right foot.
Number 22 out across the 25, the 30, the 40, and he gives them excellent field position to the 44-yard line. 42 yards.
Rodney Williams, shooting for his second bowl MVP honors, went to the air on a play action to Keith Jennings.
Keith Jennings, 6'4", wide receiver, first down to the Penn State 31-yard line.
He set the stage.
To go now for the Tigers.
Tracy Johnson took it outside for a first down.
First down inside the 15 to the 14-yard line.
Had the defense.
Then goes in standing for the touchdown.
But they come out with a good pass, medium range downfield. Now take a look at this play as we watch number 42, Tracy.
Penn State went to the task for a 39-yard score.
Number 9, Michael Alexander goes against James Lott. James Lott is 5'9", Alexander is 6'2", and it's good for 6 points and a tie ball game.
Oh, it's second down.
The Tigers continued with their surprise air attack, with Williams hitting Gary Cooper on a slant pattern.
Catch is made, and then 14.
Then back to Jennings off a play action, which started Treadwell warming up.
Jennings is having some day. Trying to drag him down is Johnson, and he won't go down.
You draw people up.
But Rodney Williams ran the option to perfection as Terry Allen went 26 yards. That set up a touchdown.
He is drawing up the man who is responsible for the pitch man. Once he does that, Terry Allen, number 21, is clear. It's a last-minute pitch.
And Tracy Johnson went in untouched for his second touchdown and a 14-7 Clemson halftime lead.
There's a reverse to Alexander. He's got Kuzi blocking ahead of him. And he's going to get just about to the 10-yard line. It'll bring up a fourth down.
The field goal brought them to within 4 points.
Eric Eats. Eats' kick is on the way, and he's got it. Here it comes again.
Quarterback Williams was in control of this balanced Tiger offense. He found Gary Cooper again, then pitched to Allen to get inside the 10-yard line.
Because the pressure's coming up. Great block again downfield by the wide receiver, Keith Jennings, number 87, and then Terry Allen, a few moves of his own to bring it inside the 10-yard line.
Fullback Tracy Johnson took it in for his third touchdown.
Johnson, his third.
I told you coming into the ball game, Tracy Johnson, the junior.
Later in the quarter, Penn State's deep drive was thwarted when Dorian Marable, defensive player of the game, took an interception back 46 yards. It turned out to be Penn State's last real threat.
Play. You see the blocking he gets downfield, the way he ran the football, he could be a fullback.
Tiger fans were celebrating as it was all Clemson from then on. Terry Allen, who had a 100-yard day, sprinted through a huge hole for a score that put the lead at 28-10. The huge Tiger defense took over in the fourth quarter.
Excellent position. Brown trying to get it on 3rd and 2. He did not.
Consensus All-American Donnell Wolford came up with a spectacular interception in the end zone.
Kisner airs it out. Alexander's down there, and it's intercepted.
Wolford.
That is.
Joe Henderson scampered for good yardage in the final 80-yard drive.
This is Henderson. Look out. He's got great speed to the 20, 15, 10, and dropped at the 8.
Such a long
He fought his way into the end zone for the final points that were the most ever scored against the Nittany Lions in a bowl game.
He could be a game breaker.
The decisive 35-10 Citrus Bowl win garnered a lot of respect for Clemson football by beating a team with the national recognition of Penn State. Now, Clemson was getting the attention they had earned and were being considered as among college football's elite.
And so 1988 started in a big way for the Clemson Tigers. They defeat Penn State 35-10.
The 1988 season was another superlative 10-2 record with a third straight ACC championship. It was an experienced squad and the first senior class to go to 4 bowls. Danny Ford had taken his team back to the Citrus Bowl against another coaching great in college football's winningest coach, Barry Switzer. This year's opponent was an even stronger opponent, the top 10 Oklahoma Sooner juggernaut. It would be a good measure to see how far Clemson football had come.
Clemson were underway. Going to be brought out by Wesley McFadden to the 20, to the 25-yard line.
The Tigers had never faced the wishbone, but were handling it well with alert plays by the likes of Ed McDaniel.
Excellent reaction by Ed McDaniel, number 93.
The first 5 series ended in punts.
To Milburn, this one not hit well at all. Hits at the 45, dives right there, and Clemson will down it at the 45-yard line.
Late in the first quarter, quarterback Jameel Holloway directed the Sooners down to the 1-yard line and a first down.
Lunging to the 1.
Freshman LaVon Kirkland made the stop on first down.
Good reaction. Holloway.
He's in there.
And he got in. Touchdown.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
The swarming Tiger defense with Doug Brewster and Vance Hammond chased a scrambling Holloway all the way back to the 18-yard line.
He does not give it to him. Now, we're up here looking from the back. We thought he had given it to him. He had not. Here he comes scrambling out of there. I really believe, now, I wasn't in the huddle. I'm not sure what it was called, but the normal wishbone, you would have disengaged, give the ball right there.
They finished a great defensive stand, forcing an incomplete pass on third down as the Sooners settled for a field goal.
Right there, playing him real loose zone. Tough to get a corner pattern in that. Good defense.
For Oklahoma.
On Oklahoma's first possession of the second quarter, linebacker Doug Brewster intercepted the Holloway pass.
Picked up, and coming up with it is the linebacker Doug Brewster. His second interception of the year.
Fullback Wesley McFadden burst up the middle for 36 yards before being dragged down at the 3.
But it was handed off up inside of him. Here comes Wesley McFadden, 22, making the longest run of have only given up.
A penalty on a pass to Allen prevented a touchdown, but future All-American Chris Gardocki got them on the board and a 3-3 tie game.
So it's all even at 3.
On the final play of the first half, he gave Clemson the lead with the 46-yard field goal.
That kick is good.
Here he is deep in the I formation, and he gets tucked to the right.
Terry Allen's first fumble of the year in the third quarter gave Oklahoma the ball, but the stalwart defense stuffed the Sooners on 3rd and 3. Their second field goal tied the game at 6-all. Clemson went 80 yards on the next drive in 15 plays that ended with the game MVP Terry Allen pushing it in for a 13-7 lead.
Get a tight look at this.
The dominant Clemson defense went to work here, stopping the Sooner ball carrier in the backfield.
Kind of penetration. Somebody in the offensive line was sitting out there.
Bandit Jesse Hatcher made outstanding plays and was named defensive MVP. He recovered a low option pitch to halt another Sooner drive.
Clemson fighting for it, and the Tigers have it.
Again, it's Hatcher.
Fourth down and 10. They're going for it here. This is for the game right now.
After a Tiger punt, Oklahoma started off at their own 20, where the quick quarterback Holloway directed them on a drive to save the game.
30 to the 31 backfield.
After converting a key 4th and 10 play, he found his wideout for another first down with less than a minute remaining.
45-yard line, and Oklahoma with 58 seconds.
They continued to march with a short pass on the left side, then connected on another sideline pattern.
Holloway again, far side, out of bounds.
The OU pass offense marched them down to the 14-yard line of Clemson with 22 seconds left.
First down.
After a rare incompletion, the Tigers called time.
Incomplete. Stell, the intended receiver, stops the clock with 12 seconds.
The Clemson secondary was being put to the test. With the final seconds ticking down, Holloway scrambled and threw it away to stop the clock with 4 seconds remaining.
With 4 seconds.
One play.
Holloway being flushed out, being chased.
On the game-saving final play, freshman cornerback Dexter Davis knocked down the pass in the end zone and sealed a 13-6 victory. It turned out to be Barry Switzer's last game as the probation-bound Sooners lost for the first time to an Atlantic Coast Conference team. It completed a 10-2 season for Clemson, complete with a final number 8 UPI ranking. 1989 was a season that saw two of the winningest football programs in the nation over the last 4 years meet in the second week. But the Tigers were competing with the record loss of 37 lettermen, including Donnell Wolford, Rodney Williams, tackle Jeff Nunemacher, Mark Dragg, and Jesse Hatcher. They had suffered a defeat the last year to a Florida State team that had been outplayed by a then number 3 Clemson, but pulled off the unforgettable 78-yard punt brewski play to win. The Tigers hadn't forgotten as they came out in Tallahassee with a vengeance as Joe Henderson took the kickoff and got them on the move.
Henderson at the 5. Breaks it at the 45 and is finally going to be upended across the 47-yard line.
Chris Morocco passed for a first down to Rodney Fletcher.
First down, and it is complete inside the 40 to Rodney Fletcher.
Another completion to Fletcher was good for 18 yards.
Morocco gets rid of the ball before the blitz get him. That's just super offense. McFadden knew exactly when to release the block.
Now, back on the ground, they got into position for Terry Allen to score from the 1.
Terry Allen.
On the Tigers' next drive, they mixed it up, passing again to Fletcher.
Butler again caught man-to-man coverage, and he blows it completely, and now it's a foot race.
Then, with some tough running, Allen did the honors as his touchdown put them up 14-0 early.
There's not even a linebacker in sight. He's up over the top.
In the second period, Wayne Simmons came through with a 73-yard interception that was the second longest ever for a Clemson linebacker.
73 yards.
Coach Bobby Bowden got his team on track as tailback Dexter Carter opened their scoring with a touchdown that made it a 21-7 Tiger lead. After the kickoff, Terry Allen quieted the partisan crowd with great foot speed when he went on a 73-yard tear.
Goodbye, Orr. At the 30, the foot race is on, and he'll score. 73 yards. Caught by Dawson. Enough for the first down, and then he gets...
After FSU picked up a field goal, Clemson had a 28-10 lead, of which Danny Ford said he couldn't remember a better first half. The Seminoles came out in the second half with a balanced attack, passing, running, and reversing.
It took too long. Lewis did a great job of stumbling.
Their touchdown brought them closer at 28-17.
Paul Moore, touchdown.
Chris Morocco created a big gain on an option keeper.
See? And here comes Morocco. Not a great runner, but there's no one there, and he's able to get upfield.
After a fullback carry for 7 yards and a look-in pass to Fletcher, they called on Chris Gardocki. His kick put them further ahead at 31-16. The Tiger defense looked good as Simmons roughed up the Noles quarterback.
And he's going to be slung down by Simmons.
Clemson then played ball control, with Henderson taking a toss sweep.
Breaks it out, finally pushed out of bounds.
The backs were being led by strong up-front blocking by Stacy Long and teammates. The All-American Gardocki closed the Tigers' scoring with a 26-yarder.
Gardocki from 26.
The Tiger defense rose to the occasion against this high-powered FSU offense.
Booming spiral. This is Buckley all the way back at the 9.
Watch Buckley do his thing. It's a great cut here. And this is really classic Clemson defense. It's been this way all night. One guy back, slows him down. And
the Seminoles got a super punt return from Buckley. However, they continued with the pressure on quarterback Peter Tom Willis.
Ball was possibly tipped. Dexter Davis was the closest man to it.
And with the aid of a pass interference call, the Seminoles got another TD as quarterback Casey Weldon came on in relief to narrow the gap to 34-23.
Throws it all the way across the field to Carter.
That would be the final score as the Tigers took the ensuing kickoff and ran out the clock. Chris Morocco completed 8 of 9 passing that day to go with no turnovers. Danny Ford was now 6-0 coaching in Florida, and FSU had their 10-game home win streak snapped. The past 11 years had seen the Tigers reach new heights that included 4 bowl wins and 4 top 20 teams in a row. Ken Hatfield came into Clemson with some huge shoes to fill. What better way to replace a past National Coach of the Year than with another one? As a player, Ken Hatfield was one of the top punt returners in college football ever for Arkansas's 1965 National Championship team, while being named Academic All-American. He had assembled an impressive 55-17-1 record as Arkansas coach. He was one of 4 coaches in the nation to lead his last 8 teams to bowls and was coming off a 10-2 year. Gone in '91 were 9 starters, including all starting receivers and backfield, to comprise the youngest set of skill players since 1943. But the Clemson football tradition has fostered a winning system that has attracted the top players that replenish the graduating stars. Ronald Williams would appear and take Conference Rookie of the Year honors. The Tigers earned an invitation to play Big Ten co-champion Illinois in the Hall of Fame Bowl, while looking for a 10th victory after posting a 9-2 regular season record, along with a spot in the top 20. The Fighting Illini were ranked 16th with an 8-3 record, having beaten eventual national champion Colorado. Clemson took the opening kickoff and put together a drive relying on accurate passing from Deshaun Cameron.
And again, another pass for Deshaun Cameron, who is here wide open. Doug Thomas has it this year.
But they were stopped at the 2-yard line and relied on All-American kicker Chris Gardocki in his last game to get them on the board.
19-yard attempt, a chip shot. And the Clemson Tigers have the lead.
Illinois fumbled on their first play from scrimmage to John Johnson.
First play for Illinois, loose ball.
On the next play, Cameron caught the Illini off guard by passing to senior Doug Thomas to give him his first TD in his last game, and Clemson's first TD pass in 4 bowl games. The Tigers stayed in the air with passes for key yardage to Thomas again, and then to a wide-open Howard Hall for a 17-0 lead.
Touchdown, Clemson.
The best defense in the nation took the spotlight after All-American Levon Kirkland put a hit on Illinois quarterback Jay Verduzzo. He was still woozy and was picked off by senior Arlington Nunn, who went 34 yards with his 3rd interception return for a touchdown of the season. It was a shocking 24-0 at the half. Star tailback Howard Griffith ran into the best defense in the land. And quarterback Verduzzo was intercepted again when Kirkland tipped his throw and Chuck O'Brien came up with the ball. The hustling Tiger defense put constant pressure on the quarterback. They bottled up tailback Griffith, stopping him short of a first down.
No place to cut up.
Linebacker Doug Brewster blocked the Illini punt. With all-conference standouts Stacy Long, Eric Harmon, and Jeb Fleisch up front, there was superb blocking, such as on this screen pass to Rodney Blunt from substitute quarterback Richard Moncrief. Deshaun Cameron, who kept improving throughout the year, was running the option well and set up the final score. Another 3-pointer from the kicker, who became the only other player, along with Arkansas' Steve Little in '77 in NCAA history, to finish in the top 5 nationally in both punting and place kicking. It was 30-0 as the Tiger defense wreaked havoc with sacks such as John Johnson's. The final Illini threat went down inside the Tiger 10-yard line, but ended when linebacker Ed McDaniel recovered their fumble. The win capped a 10-2 season for the number 9 Tigers. It was an ACC record 40th victory for the senior class and Clemson's 5th straight bowl victory. Illinois coach John Makovich, who had coached 22 years earlier with his friend Ken Hatfield, left the field a victim of a record bowl margin victory for Clemson. It was the first shutout in the Hall of Fame bowl history. It was an impressive debut for Ken Hatfield, who was the first rookie coach at Clemson to win 10 games, and the only ACC coach to lead a team into the top 10 final rankings in his first year. Coach Ken Hatfield leaves no doubt that his leadership will continue to perpetuate Clemson's prestige and status among the elite of college football. Tiger football is the passion of the people of Clemson, who have cherished these classic confrontations which live in the memories of the loyal and make Clemson football what it has been and is today.